The PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series X Pro have both been leaked, which is really weird as people are still struggling to get their hands on the current gen consoles. And I bet that you have a lot of questions. So do I. The first question is probably, what is this leak all about? Well, it comes from display manufacturer TCL. They had an official presentation in Poland recently, where they talked about their upcoming TVs. And in that presentation, they also showed the console lineup and how it impacts the TV industry. They showed the Gen 8 consoles, so the Xbox One and the PS4, the Gen 8.5, which were the Xbox One S and X and the PS4 Pro, then Gen 9, the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and Series X, and then they also showed us Gen 9.5, which are the PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series X Pro. This is the first time we've heard from a large source, in this case one of the largest tech companies in China, that both Sony and Microsoft are working on the Pro version of the current consoles. So now you're all probably wondering, when are they going to be released? TCL stated either in 2023 or in 2024, but what is really interesting here is that this is exactly what we've heard from other sources too, way before the TCL event, late 2023 or early 2024, depending on how production goes. And this does make sense. Gen 8 consoles were released in 2013 and Gen 8.5 4 years later in 2017. Gen 9 was released in 2020, so 2024 is looking quite likely. But okay, what sort of performance improvements would we see here? Well, according to TCL, the current gen consoles are comparable to an RX 6700 XT, while the Pro models would be comparable to an RX 7700 XT. The 6700 XT is aimed at 1440p gaming with a total compute power of 13.21 teraflops. Now, current gen consoles are a bit weaker than this, with the Xbox Series X having 12.1 and the PS5 having 10.3. The 7700 XT hasn't even been released yet, but it is rumored to be aimed at 4K gaming with a total compute power of 18.02 teraflops, or 36% better than the 6700 XT. 36% doesn't seem like much, but if both consoles would indeed have around 18 teraflops, then the PS5 Pro would be 75% more powerful than the PS5, while the Xbox Series X Pro would be 49%, both being substantial gains. But alright, with this in mind, what actual benefits would we see in games? Well, right now, most current gen games render either in native 4K but at 30 frames per second, or in 1440p but at 60. With the Pro models, we could finally see native 4K gaming at 60 frames per second. This is what TCL also hinted at. So we could potentially see fewer graphical modes with these new Pro models. As right now, the majority of games have 2 or either 3 graphical modes. Usually, native 4K 30 with ray tracing, 1440p 60 without ray tracing, and then 1080p 60 with ray tracing. And whenever I play a game, I actually find it really difficult to decide between the super sharp 4K image and the buttery smooth 60 frames per second experience. I'm never truly happy with the result, no matter what I choose. The Pro models could give us 2 modes, native 4K 60 with ray tracing and 1440p 120, possibly with ray tracing too. But okay, what else? Well, TCL also stated that the Pro consoles would be able to output 8K 60 and 8K 120. But the current gen consoles can already do this, at least 8K 60. In fact, they even have that printed on their boxes. And 8K 120 is not even doable, as HDMI 2.1 only goes up to 8K 60, and there are zero rumors or any expectations of a new HDMI standard anytime soon. So I think that TCL was referring to the actual game output resolution. But even an RTX 3090 that has doubled the GPU performance of AMD's upcoming RX 7700 XT is struggling with 8K gaming. So how would Sony and Microsoft be able to achieve this? Well, according to some other reports, Sony is expected to be using AMD's new Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.0, essentially the equivalent of NVIDIA's DLSS. So taking a lower resolution image and then upscaling that using AI to a near native quality. AMD has already demoed this, and the result in a large number of games has been quite impressive, with up to a 2.5x performance boost. This is the only way the Pro models of the consoles would be able to even come close to 8K. But what is even better here is that this AI upscaling could be used for 4K gaming too, meaning that we could see 4K gaming with ray tracing at 120 frames per second with an image quality that is very close to native 4K. In fact, it could even work with Sony's new PS Plus premium tier and massively boost the resolution of classic PS1 and PS2 titles. The AI upscaling is really what will make the biggest difference between Gen 9 and Gen 9.5 consoles. But alright, aside from all of these performance improvements, is the design changing in any way? I would personally love to see both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X get smaller. The PS5 especially is a huge unit that takes up a lot of space. But when Sony released the PS4 Pro, it was considerably bigger than the PS4, and you know, it made sense as it was more powerful. However, the Xbox One X was considerably smaller than the Xbox One. Microsoft has clearly proven that they can make a more powerful console in a much smaller form factor than their previous model. And we already know that Sony went overboard with the original PS5's design, as the revised model now comes with a smaller heatsink and a smaller fan too, without any noticeable impact on gaming performance. Sony could make the PS5 Pro smaller if they really wanted to, whilst also giving it significantly more performance. They could, for example, use a vapor chamber like Microsoft did instead of the gigantic heatsink, which would not only improve cooling, reduce its size, but also reduce its fan noise. Although, this could see some price increases. And by the way, if you have any design ideas for a potential PS5 Pro, do comment down below, as we will be making our very own concept for an upcoming video. So do make sure that you're subscribed to see that, as your ideas might actually make it into our concept. And also check out our brand new Zone of Tech Shorts channel for some quick and fun tech videos. But okay, let's say that they do release these Pro models. How much are they going to cost? When the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X launched, they were actually priced the same as the standard models at launch, which were then kept around but made cheaper. This could happen again, but because of the whole chip shortage and the current global economical issues, I would honestly put my money on the Pro models costing more than the current models. So I would expect around $700 to $800. The only case where this might not happen would be if Sony and Microsoft discontinue the current gen consoles and only sell the Pro models. But how likely is this to even happen? Well, I think that it is quite unlikely, as Sony and Microsoft are likely going to be facing chip shortages in 2023 and even 2024. So I think that they would need to keep the current models around in order to keep up with the overall console demand. Although I do have a feeling that if they do keep both models around, most people would simply go with the standard ones, especially if they're $200 to $300 less. But at the same time, if chip shortages are not an issue, they could discontinue the standard models, as there is a lot of overlap with the Pro models. You see, when the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X launched, they could do something that the standard models could not. And that was 4K. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X can already do 4K and even 8K, so the only thing that the Pro models would do better is playing those games at a higher native resolution. But honestly, what I really want to see the most out of these new Pro models is exclusive games. Microsoft and Sony have been at complete opposite ends of the spectrum here. Microsoft believes in getting a game and being able to play that on any hardware, just with different graphical settings. Sony, on the other hand, does believe in exclusives, games that have been optimized for one single console in order for them to run at their best. A very good example of this is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which only works on the PS5. And thanks to this, the entire game was designed from scratch with the idea of being able to open up rifts and instantly travel between worlds, something that was not possible on any of the previous consoles due to their slow internal drives. Or another example is Astro's Playroom, the free default game that comes with every PS5. The fact that this is an exclusive means that it is extremely well optimized, and as of right now, it is the only game capable of running at native 4K at 60 frames per second and with ray tracing enabled. Sure, the art style is quite simplistic, but the fact that there is no other cross-gen game capable of running at these settings does say something. Exclusives is what I would want to see more with the Pro models, but do let me know, what do you guys want to see? And do hit that bell icon for our upcoming video featuring our PS5 Pro concept, alongside more leaks and rumors on maybe even the Xbox Series X Pro and that new rumored Elite Series 3 controller. I'm Daniel, this has been ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.